So you guys can see the screen. So we are going to look at the meal writing style. Meal stands for main idea, evidence, analysis, and then link back. Okay. And once we use this, I want to call it formula or pattern in writing, it makes life very easy. I mean, for us. Okay. And this writing style, it brings that creativity in you. It makes your writing very structured and solid. And you may want to use it to do whatever write up you want you want actually to use. So that's what I want us to discuss. And I see the other guys who are on the screen also. So Kwabena, if with your permission, can I use your work as an example?
Oh yes, why not, Doc?
Okay, right. So there's the meal, the writing style. Now we are saying that in every write-up, there's the main idea. Now, when we're doing sentence structures, maybe P5, P6, or first year in the university, we're looking at when you are writing, there's something called topic sentence, right? The topic sentence is your main idea that you are using. Okay, the main idea. So the main idea, you introduce the main idea, but you also now buttress it with what? Some evidence. And then the analysis is what your inference from what? That statement. What you think it is. And I'm going to give you an example. And then when you are done, because you are moving from one paragraph to the other, you make sure there's a link from that paragraph to the subsequent paragraph. And this has been, it was designed by one famous, person. And he thought that there are other writing style, but most people prefer the meal writing style because it helps your writing to be very structured and ordered. And in fact, with this type of writing style, we call it, the name for it is, it's a scholarly writing style. Scholarly means that, you have some sort of discussion, but you are buttressing it with what? Some sort of evidence, and you are making sure that your paragraphs and the ideas that you are discussing, as each paragraph is maintaining one idea. Sometimes you have an idea, a bigger idea, and a sub idea. You want to maintain the bigger idea in one paragraph and the other sub idea in another paragraph. So you are moving from one idea to the other and to the other. So when I said, the other time when we had the discussion, and I said that if you are writing on a certain topic, make sure that the main construct in there, okay, or the main themes, you discuss them. They are all ideas. So you would have talked about everything. I don't know whether I'm making sense. Cynthia, I see you. I don't know whether I'm making sense. Are you guys there?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So, now I'm going to use your, so let's maintain this. We have meal, isn't it? Can we capture this?
Yeah.
We capture this. Have we done that?
Yeah.
Okay. So now I want to use this. This is a PhD work. And those doing masters, don't be scared. Let me say it. You know, those times when you see somebody doing the PhD, You're even very scared coming close to the person. The person looks like some small thing God, you understand? And at that level, their language is different. Talk about etymology, philosophy. They talk about ideology. I mean, everything is logic, okay? So when you see them, you're afraid. But, I mean, the master's journey is not too far from the PhD, okay? PhD tells you that you're doing more specialization. So let's look at your work. So we are looking at exploring. Now watch. You remember the last time we talked about the fact that the use of taxonomies. Do you guys remember?
Yes.
And then we said that, let me go back to that. We said that if you're using the taxonomy, assess, evaluate, analyze, examine, establish, okay, and there are more, you're looking at the study from a quantitative point of view. Do you remember we talked about that? So
Yes.
if I look at your topic, okay, that's what comes to my mind. Okay. Then if you are using exploring, you want to understand. And I said investigate and apply can be used for both. It could be qualitative, quantitative, or it could be mixed study. Okay. And it could be a purely also qualitative study if you don't want to do an application. It could also be a quantitative study if you want to investigate, but explore, understand, okay, or interpret. These are all quantitative, qualitative taxonomies, right? So if you look at Kobner's work, you realize that I want to just color this. You realize that on the face of it, he says he's doing what? Exploring diffusion, innovation and technology adoption in the health and energy sector in the low and middle income countries, right? A case study of what? Ghana, a comparative study. Okay, so in our mind, Kobna should be doing what? A qualitative study, right? Hello?
Yes.
Kobna, are you there yourself? Because I should be talking to you.
Yes, Doc.
Okay. Now, if you are using the meal approach, okay, look at Kobna's work. He said he's doing an exploration of what? Innovation, diffusion of innovation. He's doing something on what? Technology, adoption. And also health. And also energy sector. Health and energy sectors. Low and middle income countries. He's also talking about what? Ghana. So how many main ideas do we have in here? How many?
Diffusion of innovation, technology adoption.
Yes.
Energy sector, low and middle income earner, health,
Yeah,
Ghana.
I'm on Zoom.
We have 1,
So
2, 3, 4, 5.
how many?
6. I think it's 6.
Cynthia, are you driving or you're online?
Dr. Boyson, I'm driving, but I'm listening.
Okay. So the main ideas here so if we are maintaining ideas, then we can have one paragraph for what? Diffusion of what? Innovation.
Innovation.
We can have one on technology adoption. We can talk about one on the health, and then one on the energy sector, and then look at low and middle countries, and then Ghana as a case study. Is that difficult? It's straightforward. Have you seen it? So if I were you, my small kind of so let me just, I've not done this thing before, but I'm doing it for the first time. And Governor knows that I like creating some of these things. So this is what you can do, okay? We'll bring meal here. So this is main idea. This is what? Evidence. This is the first time I'm doing this. This is what? Analysis. And the writing can be, so these are the themes or construct. I'm saying that I'm doing this for the first time. I always like to innovate. Then the last one is link back. Right? So you can use this as, so for me, my first issue is what? This one. Are you getting what I'm doing now?
Yeah.
In your topic, energy, so low and income countries, and then Ghana. Right? So this one, you're going to use this. And also remember, whilst you're doing this, again, as I said, I've not done this thing. Let me move this one even to another page. Okay. And then let me make it more. Look more very structured. So meal writing approach. Meal writing approach. Now see what I'm going to do. I want to insert left. So so I know that for my introduction, let me go to the next. I know that for my introduction, because I'm doing this thing as tempo, allow me to. So if I look at my introduction of what I'm going to do, remember when we're talking about the writing pattern, we talked about the fact that once you talk about the concepts, you move from there to other parts. Okay. So this part, oh, sorry. This part I'm going to merge. Right. So this one talks about the themes or constructs in the topic. Right. Okay. That's what this talks about. And the next one, we said that the next one is going to really talk about a different thing. And I want to take you to what we did here. If you remember, the first paragraph, brief history and all that, all this part, brief history about RFID, and let me contextualize this. So all this that we want to talk about, these ones are the ones that we are going to use the meal to write, okay? Brief history. Let me see if I can... all right, that will form part of the meal. So the second part here, let's go, is about the literature gaps. So I'm going to copy this. That is current studies. Okay, current studies or current or recent study on the construct or topic or theme. And then here was the theory, if any, or method. You guys remember method use? We are talking about the introduction. And then we said that the purpose or significance or justification of the study. Justification of the study. So take note that all this part will also be using the meal. Okay, so for the current or recent study, we said studies in the past 5 years. Okay, but we identify the literature gaps, okay, theory, method, and empirical. That's what we said the other time, right? And then here we talk about theory used to understand or explain the topic. Here, the justification for the urgent need for this study or the benefits or how the outcome of the study can drive or will drive policy and also be a reference point in the body of knowledge. Okay. So this is what we have done. Are you guys in here? Are you here? So I use Kwabna. So for your work, you identify the teams. Oh, are you guys here? I can't feel you.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
We are here.
All right. So I think that if you have this box, okay, you should be able to write. Even your literature review, you can do the same thing. Okay. So first of all, main idea. So the main idea, you want to talk about diffusion of what? Innovation. So let's talk about it. And then as you talk about what it is, you give evidence. And then you do the analysis and then the link back. Before we go to this, let me give you a snapshot of what we did the other time. I'm going to show you the work we use as the example. And remember I told you that I use one guy's work. And I think I have Dr. Blaze's permission to use this before I now come to Kwabna's work. Yeah. So for them, instead of saying background of the study, they say background of the problem. That's how they explain it. So watch. So factors influence employees' intentions to participate in bring your own device program in the workplace, a correlational study in Ghana. All right. The main construct. There is what? The employees. And this is what you do in your topic. There's BYOD. There is what? Ghana. Okay, so he starts by saying that the main idea here he is discussing. I'll take you back there, and we'll be just flipping through the screens. So the main idea, this one for his work, I can decide to even put. It said laptop, desktop, smartphones, devices, tablets, and other network-enabled technologies, devices, network-enabled technology devices have become part of our everyday life. This is the main idea. Have you seen it? Mm-hmm. The next thing is what? Evidence. This is the evidence. Have you seen it?
Okay.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
I want to hear your voice. I'm not feeling you guys.
Yeah, we are paying attention.
Okay. So it's the meal we are talking about, right?
Yeah.
Let's go back. This is the meal. Main idea, evidence, analysis, what? Link back, right? Okay. So this is for this guy's work. Let me go and copy. We'll come there later. Cabinet's work, innovation, diffusion, something. So this is his topic. Mm-hmm. And we're using that as an example, right? So let me bring this one here. My goodness, okay. Okay, so this is his topic, but I'm using this to explain because we'll come here, right? This man has followed this part and the meal. So the first one was for the meal was the main idea. Okay, so this is its main idea. So the main idea here is he's talking about laptops and all that because he wants to talk about the BYOD, that's bring your own device. And he says that this one has become what? Part of employees' life, evidence, right? It says these devices are consistently present in employees' home, social environment, commute and workplaces, evidence. He's still maintaining, he's talking about the device. He's talking about the device. Are you getting it? Now he moved to, we have employees here. and he moved to employers. He says, employers have provided corporate laptops, desktop. Now, is the main idea that is still being discussed in this paragraph. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
One idea for one paragraph. So the focus is on that idea in that paragraph. And then he is giving evidence. You will see the analysis part. But even with the analysis part, he gives what evidence. So he said these devices are constantly present in employees' homes, social environment, commute, and workplace. Evidence. Employers have provided corporate laptops. Now, look at what is happening. Employers have provided corporate laptops, desktops, and other technological devices to employees. See the write-up. He says this is available in employees, it's part of their daily lives. And now he's saying that these devices are constantly present in employees' homes, right? Now watch. Now employers are provided what? These same tablets and whatever to improve to employees, to improve organizational what performance. So see the linkages. Main idea, laptops, what they do, they are in the lives of what? What? In the social environment, in what? Employees' homes, and now at the workplace. Look at the transition. Employers are providing the same devices for them, the same idea being maintained. But more importantly, for all these statements, there are evidences to it. Do you get it? There are what? Evidences to it. Now watch this. Now it says that employees now moving to the next team, employees perceive that working with their privately owned devices rather than the corporate provided devices made them more efficient and what? Productive. Now, employers provided this for them, fine, to improve organizational performance, but the employees believe that when they use their own devices, it helps. So employees who use their own devices in the workplace increase productivity. We are still talking about employees, but he's giving evidence, okay, to it. Now, I can tell you this. From this point, where the main idea came and he was giving evidence, the rest of these issues were all analyzing. So we're moving to the next. That is what? Analyze. Because the second one was being catered for, the evidence is here, isn't it? Right? The reference. So the rest of the statement you see was around the idea by explaining, making sense out of what? The laptops, smartphones, do you understand? The presence of it in employees' life, employers using it also to help, increase productivity in our organization. Employees also knowing very well that when they use their privately owned devices, it can help improve productivity. Okay, and it goes on and on. The analysis is going on. He's explaining the same idea. No idea is introduced. Okay. Now here, employees who connect their own devices to corporate laptops expose organization to cybersecurity and data leakage risks. Now a different concept has been connected to what? Security issues with the BYOD device. So take note. These risks now explaining that. But you see, this one is also within that same purview of what? The use of the devices, okay? So it becomes some kind of a sub-idea within that. It cannot be discussed without it, okay? And it goes on and on. Look at the last part. While some organizations prohibit employees from using their privately owned devices on the corporate work, others allow them to connect to increase productivity. Now watch this. We are moving to the next paragraph. Now, many organizations prohibit. Did you see that here? Did you see that here? While some organizations prohibit employees, have you seen it?
Yeah.
Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Now, many organizations prohibit employees from increasing corporate. This is what we call the link back. Right? The link back. Have you said it?
Yeah.
That's what we call the link back. So
yeah.
There's a connection from the last statement to the next paragraph. Okay? So first of all, main idea was about what? The laptops and blah, blah devices. The analysis, the evidence were the references. The analysis were all the explanation. That also came with what? Evidence. Okay? That also came with what? The references. And the link back is the last statement one makes and moving to the next what? Paragraph. So a new, paragraph has been introduced, extending this discussion. So for this guy, he brought this thing now to the organizational setting from what the employees' what perspective, and now talks about it. Now, you can decide if the idea you are discussing is a broad idea. You can break it into, various parts, because for this, they had data security in it, breaches in it, which was within what? That same idea. And they could decide to create paragraphs on these things that were discussed, like the risks and the cyber security. They could do the same thing in the subsequent paragraph. But once they get there, they still maintain the meal formula. They still maintain main idea. They still maintain it. So what I've done here is to help you that if you are talking about this, bring what you are writing as the main idea, bring the reference here as what? The evidence, and then the analysis. And make sure the analysis, you also have evidence to it. And the link back. The link back, make sure you have evidence to it. So the evidence goes through the whole thing. And that's what will make them say that you are writing scholarly. All right. And then if you go to the next statement, watch here. The guy introduced what? A different concept here called COVID, because of the fact that, we had issues of closed down, organization shutting down and all that. So they introduced what? COVID in there and then discusses it. Okay? So that is very, very important. So here, so that's just to explain how the meal, work. I don't know whether you have any question to ask.
No.
Okay, now we can go to, you don't have any question, you should be able to ask a question. I don't know what we've done makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
No one is talking. I don't know, apart from
It does.
so I have the feeling that.
Please ask questions. Ask questions. And you're afraid that dog baby no be can or your children not here.
So, because I'm going to move to, but now I'm going to send this to you. So this is going to guide you with your other, in the write-up, even in the main thesis, as what you want to do. I just created this from your work, maybe. So thanks to you, probably if you didn't bring your work, we'll not be able to do this. So we are still using the meal here. And you remember yesterday we said something about when you are writing here, the themes, the historic background and perspective and all that. Now, look at this. So the rapid advancement of technology in recent times has significantly impacted various sectors, including health and energy. Hello? Are you guys there?
Yes. Yeah, we are following.
Do you remember this?
Yes.
Ekwama, do you remember this? The historical perspective, do you remember?
Please see. Maybe it's your internet issue.
Okay. So now what I'll say is that this reference is old, right? But I think that what you wanted to do, if you wanted to reference this to were you using Mendeley?
Zotero.
So then what you should have done was that if ODC said this, then what you would have done was to bring this reference first. Let me see, and then add this to it in the same. Have you seen it?
Yeah, yeah, I've seen it. This is just skeletal. I just put it there. I haven't arranged. I haven't even done proofreading and everything. Just the
Okay.
raw.
But okay, so just to draw your attention, this one is the same. You make sure that you have the references stated the way it should be. So you realize that what I've done is I choose the most recent one first. And now you need more recent reference, please. 2016 now, 2020 is 8 years. All right. And issues about energy is an emerging. So he said, understanding the pattern and factors that influence the adoption and diffusion of these technologies is crucial for policymakers and all that. But Governor, look at this. You were talking about energy, okay? He said advancement of what technology in energy. Now you're saying that understanding the pattern and factors that influence what? The adoption and diffusion of these technologies. So the technologies, the technology you're talking about is this. So maybe you have to change this into plural, right? Are you with me?
Okay, Doc. Yes.
Have you seen the pattern? Because you are talking about technologies. And you are saying that here you say advancements of technology, not technologies. But in your analysis here, using the mill, this is the main idea. Fantastic. And then you have the evidence here. So the explanation here, which is the analysis, okay, is talking about what? The technology. So advancement of technologies, okay, in recent years. So that now you are making reference to these technologies, policymakers, and which is fine. So the use of technology and innovation in the health, I like that. So now another one comes in as we go. We are talking about what? Health, all right? Sector has the potential to improve the significant impact. And come now, this is what you can do. You see, you are discussing these things, this construct in one paragraph. Now, what you can do is to separate them. Talk about the technological advancement, okay? And then the subsequent paragraph, you talk about the health and then the energy and all that. If you want to put this one together briefly and then later talk about them extensively, it's also allowed. Knowing very well that the first paragraph is just talking about history, about what? The topic. But here you have more than one idea here. You have the technological diffusion and innovation. You have technology adoption, and you've brought health in there. So you are bulking everything in there, which is also another strategy. But make sure that for each paragraph, the theme is discussed. I don't know whether that makes sense. Okay.
Yes, we are making sense.
So you talk about diffusion and the policymakers. Now the use of innovation in the health and sector has the potential to improve. So you are talking about health. That is fine. You have evidence. However, please take note of your references so you correct those ones. However, technology adoption and diffusion in these countries are often complex and multifaceted. Okay, the range of factors influencing the success or failure of implementation. So energy hasn't come, right? So if you want to maintain that consistency, then when you have talked about health, talk about energy, because now the first paragraph, we are bulking everything in there. You get what I'm saying? Before now we come and segregate them one by one. Does that make sense? So you talked about
Yes,
health here, energy was not here, but the sentence has ended. And then now the next paragraph, you now introduce energy. When energy was not meant, the link back in the meal is not here, right? Because you introduce energy here. Energy was not mentioned here. Okay. Are you with me?
Yes, please.
Cynthia, are you following? Nah, you are welcome. Are you following? I know that you might be in the middle of the.
Not that I'm confused, but I'm trying to follow because I was not in the first part.
I agree. Well, we will give you the video, but just follow. We are working with a writing style called Meal. All right. And this will not only improve your writing skills for the thesis, but your report that you write in your organizations, okay, it's going to help you significantly. Because people write and they have put the write-up together and you ask them, how did they put it together? They cannot tell you. Why do you have this in the introduction? They cannot tell you. But this is a writing technique that you can use, right? And I'm pointing out that the energy stuff was not seen here. So he had the option to talk about maybe one idea in the first paragraph and come to health in the second paragraph and come to energy in the third paragraph in that order. Do you understand? Now he brings Ghana here. I understand because Ghana is a case study, study that we are looking at. So here you talk about Ghana and then you give some sort of statistics about the country, the health, and then energy. The general write-up, the English, everything is okay, but it is the structure. And this is what, because if you use the meal, it makes reading very exciting. Okay, people would want to read. Okay, so he does that. He's bring Ghana here. And the next thing here is that he brings the theory. So now what you did not do here is to also bring the recent studies that has been done. So let me give the guide here whilst we are. So the first one is the historical perspective of the topic. We talked about this okay, of the topic. Then, and all this we are using the meal, remember. Then we define the construct or talk about the constructs. And the construct are the key elements in there. Define the contract or explain the construct. Right? And then the third one is you tell us recent or current literature. Okay. Here you want to establish the literature gaps briefly, and then we talked about what the theory, if any, if you are doing, and method used, and then here justification for the study or what the outcome of the study would achieve. Right? So that's all I'm talking about, the intro. And in each of these, you use what? The meal. Okay? Main idea, evidence, analysis, and link back. In each of them. So Kobna, you do that for your introduction. Okay? Because you see, he did the significance of the study. He said, he have done the theory part using the UTAX2. He said the third will be guided by this. That has been done. But the method for the data analysis have not been looked at yet. has not been looked at yet. So we'll see about that, and then know what. So that's about giving justification of the theory. You could have added the method, but he also does this last part, that the significance of the study, what the outcome of the study will do. Okay, and this is the part where you see here, the last part, justification for the study or what the outcome of the study will achieve. Okay, so now if you follow that, you should have that. And this thing about, so what's the difference between your introduction and background? I see some people, so the background, is it the background of the problem? Because you still have the problem statement here. So the other thing is that because you didn't bring the literature here, or is this your format, the school's format? Governor?
Dog.
Is this the school's format?
Yeah.
So if that is the case, then the introduction is too extensive. What you need to do is to just give a brief that in this chapter, we are going to discuss X, Y, Z, and all that. Then just one paragraph, then you come to the background. Then you bring everything we have discussed to the background of the study. Please. Okay, because I've seen that you have talked about health here and all that. Because the introduction there is just a summary of what you do, and the background will then give extensive explanation about the study. So just take note of that. Then you come to your problem statement. Oh, this literature review, sorry. You come to your problem statement. Yeah. So take note that your problem statement, you see the current, this we talked about, the current or recent literature that established the gap. Okay, let me take you there. Okay. So this one, recent literature review, which established the gap, is what you are going to expound in your problem statement. Now, problem statement tells you the story of the study. In fact, it gives a better and extensive explanation of the topic and the key areas you want to discuss. So, for instance, the problem statement, extensively, you are going to talk about diffusion, current studies that has been done using diffusion, technology adoptions in the health sector, the energy sector. You're going to talk about the middle income country. I tell people that the problem statement should be longer and more extensive than the topic. All right. So if you look at the one I showed to you, this work, and you come to the problem statement, right? You realize that extensively, look at the number of paragraphs. Extensively, it talks about the technology, I mean, the same intro that he gave, more extensive here, talks about previous study. So here, because it's problem, we want to establish the problem based on literature gaps. So we are talking about studies that has been done in that area, what they found, okay? But your first two paragraphs for the problem statement should tell the story, you understand, about the topic. It's about storytelling, okay? And here it says, it talks about previous literature. And You see, here you have to demonstrate that you have read very wide. Because it says that previous studies have looked at BOID adoption in the workplace from the perspective of organization, employees, and consumer market. And these are the people who said that. Okay, two of them. Then he says that from the perspective of organization, he talks about it, and then comes to governance issue, and he says that these guys have talked about it, giving more credence to the fact that I've cited these papers, and this is what they have said. Remember, the references that you use in the problem statement are the key references, the key literatures that you are going to review, are going to use extensively in the literature review, especially the empirical part, because it is those papers you use to establish the gaps. And it's the same papers that we are going to review extensively. In the problem statement, we don't talk about, the methodology they use and all that. We talk more about what they found, okay? Just to give some sort of summary of the literature gap. And then when we go to the literature review, we do that extensively. So look at this guy's problem statement. I'm going through, still talking about literature. I'm going through. Literature show the performance of something, still talking about what literature. And then talks about, BOYOD adoption in other areas, high participation of employees. He's telling the story. The success for adoption, he's telling the story. Now, the literature on BYOD adoption evaluated the attitude of employees and blah, blah, blah. You see somewhere he says that having done all these things, he says that here, given the theoretical, empirical, and methodological gaps, this study sought to use the theoretical framework. So he has established those gaps here. And let me read that, so that you can understand where this guy is coming from. So with all the story he has told, the references he has given, justification for studies that have used BYOD, he says that the literature on BYOD adoption evaluated the attitude of employees towards adoption of BYOD, employees' risks when participating in the BYOD, and the type of employees who adopted the concept. Now, there was limited empirical research on factors that directly, this is where he establishes the gap, okay? There was limited empirical research on factors that directly influence employees' intentions to participate in that. And he gave reference to that because this guy, Zhang, noted it. Now, look at this statement. He said, the closest studies on employees' intention to participate on BYOD use TAM, Technology Adoption Model, and UTAT. What we are using is UTAT 2, the extended UTAT as the theoretical framework, but students, not employees, were the research participants. You see how he creatively crafts the gap, all right? Then he says that this guy research on BYOD adoption students use the use of their personal device in educational institute. Then he said Arthur and this guy researched the intention of employees to use mobile applications. He's giving the evidences. The broad gaps identifiers were factors that directly influence current employees' intention to participate in BYOD programs in the marketplace. So as a result of it, he said theoretically, none of the studies use what UTAT 2, because he has said it there. They never use the framework to understand employees' intention to participate in the BYOD program. And then he said again that this guy also use qualitative research design. You know why he's going here? He's doing that because now he's going to talk about, having talked about the theoretical gap, he's going to talk about what we call the methodological gap. So he says that this guy and Mensa use qualitative research design to explore the themes of factors influencing employees' adoption. Gupta and then the others, okay, also research on BYOD, targeted student population, and structural equation modeling in their research work design. Now, given the theoretically, empirically, and methodological gap, this study sought to use the UTAT2 theoretical framework to understand the factors influencing employees' intention to participate in BYOD. UTAT2 is preferred. So now, all the discussions that has been made, this is actually what the gap that has been identified. Okay, and that as a result, this theory is used for the study. And that's what he has done. Okay, and talks about UTAT2. That is it. So you realize that all this discussion at the beginning was just to tell people that I have read, I understand the trend, understand the themes around it, understand the problem, I understand the benefit. You understand? And this is the gap I've identified. And it's the same gap we succinctly spoke about it in the introduction. Just a brief in a paragraph. But when we came here, we extended and expanded it. And take note, is this same literatures that we are going to use as the main literature we are going to review, in addition to other ones that didn't feature, in the problem statement. So the problem statement should be packed. It should be packed. And those doing the masters, if we do the work this way, I can tell you in the PhD, you just do an extension. Okay, you wouldn't, struggle. Kwabna, had the same, I believe when Kwabna, when we're doing this thing, when I was asking you to draw concept and other things, you thought that I smoked weed, right? But today, it's becoming easy for you to use some of these frameworks, okay? So let's go back. So Kwabna.
Doug.
So then here, the literature review, you do it preliminary literature review, okay? I will always advise that don't start with the empirical, start with the theoretical, okay? Start with the theoretical, right? Theoretical. Start with that, not the empirical. Okay, this is the empirical, and make sure that it's the same papers at the proposal level, the same papers, take note, that you use in your review of the literature, in the review, in establishing the problem, is what at the proposal level, you talk about them here. Because, other than that, you'll be found for something we call in research issues with validity. And this validity is not with the instrument. It is in the research methodology that you need to follow that you violated, because you cannot use literature that you have reviewed in the preliminary literature review that was not featured in the problem statement, because the problem is born out of lack of literature, okay, or gaps. So it's the same literature used in establishing the gap that you need to explain or extend here for the review, and then now to let us know what accounted for that gap that you established in the problem. And here you do an extensive review, talk about the purpose of the study, the method, the findings, and the recommendation. And then the other question in the review that we ask, and so what? And so what? Okay, and so what? And with that, I want to show you something. So in the review, he started with the empirical review. So let me talk about that. I said he should start with what? The theoretical review. And maybe let me talk about the theoretical review. The theoretical review, you see, theory is used to explain phenomena. It's used to, just explain how things work. That's the essence of theory. So anytime you're doing your work and then you have your topic, diffusion of innovation, technological adoption, and all that, in research, we want to find out where you pick those constructs from. So the idea of theory is to tell us that these constructs were picked from this particular theory. So that we are using that theory to explain, you understand, a certain phenomena. So that's the essence of using theoretical review. And theoretical review is mostly in a quantitative study. In a qualitative study, you might want to use a theory as a guide, but I mean, it's more of an inductive study. You're coming from what? Collecting data to build a certain concept or theory. So you are not too much, I mean, enjoying to use theory. In fact, qualitative study rather builds theory. So if it's a quantitative one and you are using a certain theoretical, I mean, framework, you need to state the theoretical framework, how it explains what the theory. You need to tell us the construct in that theory that was used to formulate the topic, what it means, and how those constructs, for instance, will be operationalized. Operationalization means how you define those constructs in your work. For instance, if the study is talking about gender and it says gender, there's gender in your topic, and the gender was explained in a theory as male and female originally. And in your study, you want to pick that same gender from this and then modify it. Then we would have said that according to, I mean, now 2023, gender was defined as this, but for the purpose of this study, we altered the definition of gender to include prefer not to say. You understand? Apart from male and female, we are saying that, I mean, to include prefer not to say. What it means is that you have just picked that gender from that theory and you've modified it. And that's the essence of the theoretical review. Because you may want to change some of the constructs. You may want to pluck some of the constructs from the theory, okay? You may want to redefine them to fit that topic. And that is why you are required, if you're doing a quantitative study, to do a theoretical review. For us to know that if you have picked that theory, are you using the construct with the same definition, or you are altering it? If you are using it, then it means that you are using it now to explain in a different context. And at the end of the day, it should be said in your contribution to literature, to theory and practice, to the theory part, that the theory has been extended to explain something in some geographical, I mean, region. So take note of that. That is very, very important. And that's why we do theoretical review. So in a theoretical review, what do? State what the theory is, state the components in the theory, and state how that theory explains the topic. And tell us, we use the word how it resonates with the study. The resonation means that how these constructs in it, I mean, are applied in the study. Are we using the same definition, or we are using different definitions? So take note of that. So the theoretical review, and then you do the empirical review, which I indicated that you talk about the purpose of the study, you talk about the methodology used, and then findings, and the last part is that, and so what. And so what. And in doing that, I want to show you one guy's work, which he does this very in a very great style. Let me see. So look at this work. This literature review. All right. He's doing something on procurement and non-compliance. So it takes the empirical review. You see, this is the section of the empirical review, and it tells you what he's going to do. I'm not interested, but I'm interested in, he's talking about non-compliance in public procurement. He gives a background, which I like this part. I mean, to start with the review itself, he gives a background, and look at how he puts it. He said compliance and non-compliance has been an old menace in public procurement institution in the West Africa and Africa at large. To some extent, there seem to be some militating factors implicitly or explicitly preventing procurement officers and professional. You know why he says there seems to be? You understand? He's sharing his view, and he's very careful that he is not exact, okay? Then he says that there has been a number of studies which point to this fact. Now he starts. Now watch what I said. He said, Atinga and somebody else, 2003, studied the degree and nature of violation of Ghana procurement Act 2003 as captured in the Attorney General report after a decade of its implementation. That is the purpose of the study. First block. Take note. Purpose. Aisha 2 and others, if you remember, this one, Cynthia and then now they are aware. That table we did, we said purpose, we said the topic, you understand, method, findings. It's the same thing here. The only thing we didn't add was the purpose. So if you are doing that for literature review, you bring the purpose of the study. The purpose is always the topic, right? So you have it here. Now, the next thing is the method. And listen, it said the artists use longitudinal exploratory approach and choose secondary data. That is what? The method. The next thing is findings. It said their findings revealed. Okay, it talks about findings. It said that they also realized another findings. Okay, the last part is, and so what? And so what? So this is your voice in the literature. What do you make of what you have said? And look at how this guy puts it. Having said this, he said that this suggests. Why is he saying suggests? He's showing, he's demonstrating his opinion based on the review. Because if you do it and leave it there, you have not reviewed. At the problem statement stage, you can do that. You can just talk about findings. But at the extensive literature review, you need to make meaning to the literature. Now look at what this guy said. He said this suggests that fairness and transparency are flouted, and this may be caused by political interference. The situation does not allow public officers in government institutions to exhibit their level of professional conduct or attitude in execution of their duties. In some cases, in some instances, and I love that, this guy is demonstrating the fact that the subject matter that he's dealing with, he has read, and then he understands the issues. So he said in some instances, it is believed, look at the choice of words, it's believed that public officers take advantage of the situation to abuse the system. Now, since 2003, I love this part, it was expected that the reform programs which led to the amendment of the Public Procurement Act, the guy is telling you that he understands the topic. After a decade of its implementation, would have improved the public sector addressing some of these issues. However, current literature, that is the literature that he reviews, shows the reoccurrence of these issues and happenings in Ghana, which is evident that there has not been any improvement. That is his opinion that he has shown. You realize that even though he did the review here, his contribution was even like it matched the same content. So this is what we do review. In the literature review part, that's what we do. But when you are doing the proposal, you are not expected to do this extensive review. You can end it at the findings, but when you are actually doing, the extensive review, this is what you do. So that is just about that. Let me take this thing off.
Doc.
Yeah.
So his opinion with what you just showed us. So his opinion is that what the analysis is about?
No, I'm just showing you the structure. But what this structure should be, that I have discussed, should be within the, you should use the mill to write. The mill is being used for everything. You understand? All the write-up. So take note of that. But I was just telling you in the literature review, the blocks that you have to look for. The purpose of the study, you understand? The methodology, the findings, and so what? The so what is your discussion. Okay? You get it? That is the block of the literature review. In doing the literature review, that's what it means. That's what I'm explaining to you. That's what literature review means. But when writing the literature review, doing it, you need to make sure that you follow the meal strategy. And I can tell you, the meal might not work in all instances, but especially for your introduction, it should flow. You get it? There are sometimes some of the instances, it will not follow, like just after the main idea, you come to the evidence or the analysis. Someone brings the main idea and then does the analysis, okay? And then now bring the evidence before the link back, okay? So it is not structured like 1, 2, 3, 4, but it's a general idea you need to tap into, okay?
Yes, please.
So, guys, what we'll do is, I think we stayed for quite a long time. Pabna, we've done part 1 of your work. I think that you know what to do when you go back. So, we have done the empirical review and the theoretical review. I know I've read through this. I think that the theory is okay. You've brought the construct here, which is fine. Cynthia, you see the same UTAT2 you are using is being used here. Okay. And then I like the bit where you look at the strengths and weaknesses of theories. And I think that, Cynthia, you can also adapt this, the strengths and weaknesses of different theories, and just to buttress the fact that this thing works. And we've talked about the research objectives and the questions already, and the hypothesis so we are good to go. The research methodology, we've also talked about it. But the other thing is that this one, Abna, is purely quantitative work. I thought that you were doing, if you are doing the mixed study, then there's the topic that read exploration is fine. But if you are doing this, we are using this one, then I would have to see that in your work, the other part, which is the exploratory aspect. In fact, I think we were looking at exploratory sequential mixed method. We saw something. Aha. Okay, explanatory sequential mixed method. Good. So let's see the what do you call it? The qualitative part. Because most of your work is more, the bigger aspect is like 80% quantitative and 20% qualitative. So that should be seen. So if that use evaluating rather than exploring, okay? Because it's more quantitative than qualitative. If you are doing exploratory sequential, then you can use exploring. But if it's explanatory sequential, then you may be analyzing, evaluating, examining, or something, so that there's clarity to what you are doing. I think I'm done. If you guys have any questions.
Hello, Dr. Boison.
Yes.
Did you mention my name? I was on the motorway, but I heard something. Like
Yeah, I mentioned your name. I did. Yeah, I did. So we are going to do the part 2 of this. I mean, probably tomorrow, right? Tomorrow is Thursday.